Welcome to Fandom Power.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Wes, Hank, and Andy, and we're back again. And it's today's gonna be what's today gonna be? I don't even know what today is. Oh yes, it is still Saturday, I think.
October something
or other. October the something of the 20 something. And yeah, it's part 3 of our so what? That's our fandom power answer to the question from our friends over at Marvel Studios when they said, "What if?" And they threw this incredible TV series at us. Which, now that it's wrapped, gentlemen, what do we think? Where are you at with it?
I want season 2.
Yeah, season 2 should be really good. I mean, I enjoyed the format of the first 8 episodes so much that I kind of wish the last 2 didn't break format. I think maybe they did it too early, like because I'd watched 3 or 4 seasons of this as one-offs.
Right.
Yeah, we'll get into it. These 3 were my least favorite of all of them.
Really?
Absolutely.
And to me, I would say after, I mean, it was no secret how much I kind of fawned over the Captain Carter episode, and I actually felt like the last one was a return to that, like, whoa. But I'll say this. The last 3 episodes work really well as a trilogy, obviously. I mean, that's the way that they're set up. And I mean, if you never watched any of the other episodes, you could watch the last 3 and be completely informed about what's happening, minus, of course, the Doctor Strange thing. You'd kind of wonder what's up with him. But
I do agree with that. I have to say my 2 least favorite characters in the MCU are Black Widow and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And my 3rd least favorite character is Thor, the way that
he's
portrayed in the MCU. So
yeah,
and that's basically what we're getting. And then I have to admit that, and I had this conversation with a couple of people.
Yeah.
If I walked into a comic store and I saw Guardians of the Multiverse with that cast, I
you'd have bought it. You wouldn't have picked it up. Oh, interesting.
No way. No, there's not a character there that I care about.
You know, I probably would have picked up a single issue just to say, well, what's this about? And then, you know, depending on the writing, I would probably go from there.
Yeah. I might read it online, but I mean, the finale was missing 2 things, or 2 words, I guess. One thing in 2 words, and that's this, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I don't get it. But anyway, let's move on, because there's so much good about it that I don't want to.
There is. It's probably going to take us a little while to unpack all of this one.
Yeah.
In no surprise, I was way overborne on the number of photos that I pulled out for this one. But it, you know, in all fairness, I'm starting with the first one with what if Thor was an only child, and of course,
basically Cameo City.
It is. It is literally the who's who of the Marvel cinematic universe in this one. And so I tried to make sure that I got shots of everybody that meant something, and some of the people that didn't mean something, and some of the shenanigans that take place in this episode. Before we get started, though, I want to stick with the general impression, because I did a little bit of sleuthing last night. And it turns out that this season actually is missing an episode.
It is. I got
pushed.
Info.
It got pushed to season 2. Yeah. So there's a lot of buzz about the relationship between Tony Stark and Gamora.
Yeah.
And why it is the way it is when we see them. Man, I feel let down that we didn't get that episode.
Lauren just told me this morning. I had no idea that was the thing. I just thought, like,
yeah,
they ran out of time or jammed something in, or that was the extension of the Sovereign kind of flashback in the last episode, the results of Gamora being alive after Thanos, has the stones. So
well, I said to Andy, and I might have put it in our group chat prior to recording, was I was betting, the farm that version of Gamora was the version of Gamora that took off at the end of Endgame.
Certainly.
and I'm going to recant on that because now I don't believe that at all.
Yeah. I guess the title of the missing episode is "What If Tony Stark Never Came Back Through the Wormhole?"
I guess that would be the appropriate title. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I got one other thing I want to touch on, and was it our last episode? It was our last episode, Hank. You said that you were doubling down, that you believed that it was Doctor Strange going forward in the new Strange movie.
Yes.
How do you feel about that now?
I don't think it changes anything. I here's the fact: Doctor Strange is alone.
Yeah.
Trapped in a universe, with 2 time stones, and all 5 other Infinity Stones, and in complete control of that sort of situation. And I mean, I wish better things for the character, but I don't know if psychologically he can handle that, because now he literally might be able to reset everything. It's sort of one of the things.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump onto the finale yet, but it's one of the things that I thought in that moment with Killmonger, and we'll get to it later organically, but I thought that Killmonger was going to do something different. And that's kind of what I like, where Doctor Strange's head might be at.
Right.
I think I could take these 2 guys and then fix everything. And that might lead to some season 2 chaos, or even,
I know.
I mean, that the fact that there's going to be a season 2 and that we've focused on him at the end,
right.
Certainly some different iteration of Doctor Strange, I believe, is in the multiverse.
Right. I know leading into this episode, when we see the Watcher go and recruit him, there's a line that he says about having nothing but time, and that gives me this like air of uncertainty about exactly how long has he been hanging out in that pocket dimension before they pick him up.
That's
so
true.
To tie that back to the notion that Doctor Strange may in fact be the character out in the main MCU going forward, I wrap my head around that, and I feel the best way for that to happen is that he spent so much time alone that it's kind of like the whole Banner and the Hulk thing, how they resolved whatever the bridge gap there to blend the 2 into one. So I presume that whatever part of him is Stephen Strange that didn't, suck the life force out of all those creatures has has come to some sort of resolution with the other side of himself, and that's the dominant personality.
Right. And certainly if you wanted to get super evil, because I was talking about this offline with someone, I can't recall, but
sure,
if you wanted to get super evil, he could start just going through the multiverse, absorbing Doctor Strange's.
Just himself.
Right. Like,
yeah.
Kang, like there's some, the connotations for every single character in this is like, they're wonderful because they become unlimited. Like, there's no reason.
Yeah, they really do.
The rumors now that we're going to get an Illuminati in the Doctor Strange movie.
And that just like
a Professor X.
I was gonna say, I mean, does that not, you're like kind of nail biting, waiting to see who's gonna be in
it? Like, yeah. So even those rumors, and now even the Andrew Garfield rumor, no longer even a rumor.
Well, as I've been calling it the worst kept secret of the year.
Right. Yeah. Right. Like, the guy has no poker face. All good. That's a lot of pressure, man.
Oh, of course it is. I'm super looking forward to those, but
oh yeah. Even
let's
the Eternals, newer trailers make it look like, and it now kind of knowing now that it takes place in 2 separate timelines.
I mean, I am so not familiar with the Eternals, but I'll say this: when I saw Rob Stark Superman, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in.
And it's a gateway to like Nova and some of that other crazy stuff that's going on.
I thought we were getting Nova when we got Guardians. They go to Xandar, and I'm like, whoa, where's Richard Rider? What's going on?
Yeah. And then like Quasar and things of that nature.
Yeah. More of the cosmic stuff. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's get into this one, because let's say these last 3 episodes, they do work as a trilogy, and so I guess that leaves it to me to set the stage of where we're going. Once again, I'm going to turn back to the good folks at Wikipedia, who are going to give us the episode synopsis this week, because it's just a little bit more fleshed out than the Disney Plus one. So spoiler, if you haven't seen the episode, what are you doing? Go watch that episode, then come back and watch our show. All right. What did I do there? Oh my Lord, what have I done? You think I'd be a little more put together today, but apparently I'm not.
Yeah, close enough.
Fast and loose, man. They love it.
Well, and then there's this whole thing, like we've just taken a step backwards, like a decade in our technology use this week because our regular computer went bleh. Okay, I've got it. Here we go. So, what if Thor were an only child? After defeating the frost giants, Odin discovers the abandoned infant Loki and returns him to Laufey. Centuries later, Odin's only son Thor has become a boisterous, party-loving prince. While Odin sleeps and Frigga is away, Thor travels to Earth to host a large party with aliens from across the universe. His arrival attracts the attention of Jane Foster and Darcy Lewis, who join the party. As Thor and Foster grow close, acting S.H.I.E.L.D. director Maria Hill summons Carol Danvers to end the destruction caused by Thor's antics. Danvers is unable to defeat Thor without exerting her full power, so Lewis and Hill suggest that she take the fight to a less populated area, while Foster contacts Frigga with Heimdall's help. Hill readies a nuclear strike as Danvers and Thor begin to battle again, but Frigga contacts them and says she's coming. Thor and the partygoers clean up the mess before she arrives, and later Thor asks Foster out on a date, but is interrupted by an army of drones led by dun 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 Ultron, who is now inhabiting the Vision's body and is in possession of all 6 Infinity Stones. Yeah, what a doozy to drop on you at the end of that one.
Yeah. Change the tone.
Big time.
Image, yeah.
Big time. All right, so let's go through this. I'm going to run through these photos. I'm going to go through them pretty quick. It should be fairly organic. Beginning of the episode, what do we got? We've got Jane and Darcy out in the Nevada desert, just kind of like they were at the beginning of Thor. Jane's monitoring some sort of galactic cosmic energy radiation, as we know that Jane's an astrophysicist. And of course, Darcy's the one to detect the signal and wakes up Jane. And they witness what we know as the energy of the Bifrost. Holy cow, where is that going? And then we get the big reveal. Meanwhile, over in Las Vegas, Elvis, who we're going to see later on in the episode. Oh my God, man, what's that? And we get this big moment of like, oh my God, who can it be? And naturally, of course, it is, Thor and all of his friends.
Kind of similar to the Thanos appearance there at one point.
It's very similar, like coming out of the portal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much so. We've got Thor there, center screen, and of course you get a sense of the timeline in this one. He's kind of wearing the Dark World costume, not the original Thor costume.
Right.
And of course, he's not alone. He's there with the Lady Sif, and of course his friends, the Warriors 3, with Fandral, Hogan, and Volstagg. So we find out that as the watcher, as Jeffrey Wright launches into part of his monologue, which is still, by the way, is still one of the strong points of the whole series, that, instead of taking Loki to be his own son, Odin actually returns Loki to King Laufey, avoiding a war. All right. Then we jump ahead to what's going on here next. We jump ahead to a scene in the bedroom, the royal bedroom, where Odin is about to undergo the Odin sleep. And Frigga is there, and she's just encouraging him to take a nap. And of course, Thor, like a teenager or a kid who didn't get his Ritalin, is like just bouncing, like, is he asleep yet? Is he asleep yet? And as Odin drifts off into the Odin sleep, Frigga immediately jumps up. She's like, okay, I'm off to my sisters for the solstice. And as they're leaving, she basically tells Thor to, mind his P's and Q's, be a good boy, study hard, and no partying. But that doesn't exactly work out. And of course, not without, before leaving, she says, because Heimdall will be watching. Apparently not so much. But she tells him that Heimdall's going to be watching.
He's down to party too.
He is down to party. Of course, he doesn't show up. I did like this. I mean, initially when I watched the episode, I was not a fan not a fan of the humor, and to some degree, I'm still not a fan of the humor. I think the only reason that it works even remotely is because this is an alternate universe.
I don't find this Thor ostensibly different from the Thor we have in the movies, actually. And
I feel like
how I feel about the Thor in the movies. So.
I do. Thor in the first movie, impetuous Thor who demanded that he was just going to take the throne, I feel is more akin to that character, the one that got cast out.
Right.
You know, this is Thor who should have gotten cast out, but because there was no, you know, there's no brotherly rivalry, there's none of that. He's just been an only he's this impetuous only child who's, you know, he's the kind of guy that's probably never been
Joss Whedon Thor.
Well, oh, I need to take a minute. Compose yourself. Okay. Like it's a guy that's never been told no. Do you know what I mean? Like no one told this kid no. Yeah. All right. So anyway, what does he do? He's like, we're gonna go to the most backwater place that Heimdall surely won't be watching. We're going to Earth. And then he's like, dial up the realms, party on Midgard, and off they go. And so, if you were going to party on Earth, there is only one place, and that, of course, is back in Viva Las Vegas. And now we start getting into the who's who of this episode. And I mean, here's a shot of Sif with some Asgardians milling about with just regular party goers in Vegas. You know, anything goes in Vegas, right? And then what do we get a pull back here? And we get some Ravagers. And of course, there's a shot. There's Yondu Odonta hanging out there at the bottom of the staircase. And we get an appearance from this guy, from Scourge, the Executioner, who apparently is also down to party.
Right.
And not so murdery.
Not so murdery. No Enchantress.
No, exactly. And so as all of this is going on, you've got Darcy and Jane who have now driven. They've driven into Vegas from their location in the desert. Not, of course, before they actually try to contact SHIELD, and of course they don't get through to SHIELD. And so you can picture them in the desert going through this laundry list of like agencies, and then finally it's like, I know you're the Forestry Service, but can't you do anything?
Right.
And they get hung up on.
Thinking it's an alien invasion.
Yeah. So here's Darcy and Jane sort of witnessing first contact and kind of, you know, figuring out how are they going to handle themselves. And she finally says that you know, she's going to go over and talk to him. And there's some banter between, you know, tall blonde and point breaky, or there's some like comment about his looks.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's, well, it could be worse, you know, you could be talking to that guy, he looks like a real loser. Howard. And of course it's Howard. Who in a twisted turn of events gets the girl.
Man,
can we just talk about Howard the Duck getting the girl, because that's like twice now he's got the girl, right?
It's true.
Did he not get he got Leah Thompson back in the 80s?
He did.
He was briefly president of the United States in the 70s.
Oh, it was
in the Marvel comics.
I was going to say, did he have a standalone title?
He did. he sure did.
Oh my God, Howard the President. Okay. Meanwhile, the party rages on, and you get Thor, who is now engaged with a group of Skrull, and of course, this leans right into that version of Thor that you don't like. This, I mean, the vanity on this guy is obvious. Yeah. Oh, do me, and you do me, and you do me, and then by the time they've all done his face, he's like, "You guys really get me." And again,
the impression he would, you know, go off into a room with those four guys.
Well, you kind of wonder, like, what does Thor do when he's alone with himself?
Yeah. He's very self-obsessed. Yes, sir.
Until he comes face to face with the Lady Jane, who immediately he is smitten with, and uses a whole bunch of big adjectives to describe how dark and beautiful her eyes are and how pretty she is. And of course, Jane starts to swoon, which is kind of disappointing in this day and age of, you know, female archetypes in these action movies, especially knowing that, you know, Jane is going to be, you know, Thor very shortly in the near future.
Right.
All right. So meanwhile, the Grandmaster and Topaz have shown up, and apparently he likes cake.
Yeah, my favorite. One of my favorite. When it was actually Jeff Goldblum, I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Oh, I know. We both.
How
I
much
think
did
we
that
all
cost?
kind of. Yeah. Do you think it costs a lot, or do you think?
Well,
Because
maybe like
I always
they
wonder,
might be
like,
under some running contract, or they might even have dialogue recorded from sessions with him that they're just allowed to use. So
you look at a guy like I'm gonna use Mark Hamill as an example, who has voice cameos, who has had uncredited appearances in every Star Wars
yeah,
ever made.
apparently he has a pseudonym that he does voices under as well.
Yeah.
Don't
So
know
I
the name
mean,
of it.
there's still uncredited roles out there that he has not revealed. So I mean,
That's true.
the most obvious one, most recent one, not only did he show up for the Rise of Skywalker as himself as Luke, but he was also Bulio,
Right.
the spy who got beheaded. So you can only imagine what other voices he's doing.
Yeah, he was some sort of weird alien in Last Jedi, mistake of BB-8 for a coin slot thing.
Oh, right.
So he does a little bit of, and he's been in every property. So he's tucked away in Rebels. He's tucked away.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Clone Wars. That's the rumor.
My point is, like, you have an actor like Mark who is so. Mark is one of those guys who really understands the fan relationship to the property and to the characters, and I often wonder how much of that, because we know how prolific he is on social media and how how generous he is of his time.
He's the king of Twitter.
This is what I mean. So, like, do you think like a guy like Jeff Goldblum is like really in it for because it's just such a cool role that maybe he would like, sure, I'll do it? Because really, I mean, he's got what, two lines in the whole episode, I think, in this one.
No, and like I say, there's probably a contract of exclusivity saying like you're
of course,
this character if we need you, and you can phone in a couple lines. Should
contracted X number of appearances, yeah. And
but
this
it's
probably
also really like if you filmed a body of work for the project, and there's definitely outtakes or
yeah.
And we know that Disney, they'll bring the living back or the dead back. So
yes,
cutting a few lines here and there isn't ridiculous. And certainly for credit, he has. I mean, he's got to get paid for work.
Yeah.
But it actually, of all the voices, that's the guy that blew me away. I was like, I mean, earlier in some of the other, like when Josh Brolin did his own Thanos, I was like,
yeah, I liked all of that.
But yeah, Jeff Goldblum.
So while we're on the subject of voice actors, so what we're looking at, Steve Rogers did not come back. Tony Stark did not come back. Drax did not come back.
Right.
Now,
is this Natalie Portman?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, it is. And then Gamora did not come back.
Nope.
Right.
Did I miss anybody?
Yeah, Ultron.
Ultron did not come back. Yeah, that's right.
That point kind of sticks to me.
Oh, and Ross.
I would have liked to see him come back. And
he deserved more. I mean, he was such a good, it was such a cerebral, Tommy Lee Jones. That's true. Yeah. That's right. He gets shot right in the Vitamita Vegemin chamber.
Yeah.
That one's for Major from Reflex Point. I know you like that. So, all right. So, back to Thor and Jane. Jane actually, at this point, she's really sticking to her work as a scientist here. And she holds up her tablet and she's like, the last time that this energy appeared, it was in association with the destruction of a planet. And she insinuates or infers that his ways destroyed a planet. And so we get this, like, there's this undertone that if you blink, you'll miss it, that, hey, the party thing, it's not just an innocent, kid out for a good time, that there are serious, potentially serious consequences.
They party too hard.
I have a theory about this, and I don't know if you have a theory about it, I won't speak on it, but I
love to hear it.
I tend to think that the planet that he was on, he partied. We left.
Yeah.
And the party attracted Ultron.
Oh, that's interesting.
The planet, because that's exactly what happens.
Interesting. And you know what? There's a line at the end of the episode where he explains it away, but it doesn't actually contradict with what you're saying.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. All right. So, After he and Topaz had cake, the Grandmaster shows us that not only is he the Grandmaster, but he is also the Grandmaster DJ.
Yes. Awesome.
I couldn't help it. I'm like, oh, that guy's going to lay down some beats.
He's got some mad skills.
I guess so, eh?
DJ Fly.
Yeah, and then we get this cool little shot here of Nebula at the craps table, and she turns to Korg and she's like, here, blow on these. Mama needs a new eye. Which I actually genuinely found that one funny.
Yeah.
A lot of the
have to
stuff
admit, all
isn't.
these scenes were fantastic. Just
Yeah,
seeing them, like,
yeah.
almost like on those moments when the Simpsons are actors within their own show and they talk
Oh,
to
yeah.
each other
Yeah.
character, but they're still the characters. Like,
Yes.
that's the kind of impression I got here, that it was the actors
Read the
playing
line.
these roles that were at like an industry party.
Yeah. And then just another shot here of Valkyrie, because we haven't seen her yet. Drax
Right.
and Sif.
Drax on the other side of the bar now.
I was going to say Valkyrie must have come in with everybody else that showed up from Sakaar, because there's a shot at the beginning of the episode with all the ships floating over Vegas, and it's a mixture of like Asgardian longboats and like what looks like Sakaaran style garbage ships.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then so in this montage piece of everybody, because now the party is sort of reaching the pinnacle, the peak fervor, as it's probably well after midnight. And apparently Darcy and Howard probably drank a little too much, and she went from being, well, it's not a date, to Mrs. the Duck.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I would like to see these characters in a future season and see if the relationship stands.
But aren't they bickering later? Aren't they having an argument later?
Something like that, yeah.
Where they're like already bickering.
They are separated because Darcy goes off with Jane to Shield headquarters, and when they come back to Vegas at the end to resolve the episode, Howard's there. Loku came wandering back.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, you know what is Vegas without drunken tattoos? But I actually like this. I didn't like the tattoo originally, but now seeing it like framed this way, it harkens back to that conversation that they had in the film about magic is just science that we don't understand.
Right.
Still cementing the relationship that Thor and Jane would have in the MCU proper. All right, so the next morning, phones start ringing. And when I say phones, I mean multiple phones. So Darcy's cell phone, the hotel room phone is going off. There's like banging at the door. And as people are starting to come around, we get like literally the homage to the Hangover series.
Yep.
As the camera pans around the room, and you've got Korg, who's laying in Korg, who's in a bucket of sheep. Which is absolutely, because it harkens back to the party that they had on the other planet. Same thing about the sheep. But then you get this shot of a very sleepy Rocket hanging out in the sink, while Romulo's at the door pounding away, basically telling her to open the door. And of course she does. Jane does finally come to the door. People are starting to wake up, and he's like, do you have company in there? And she's like, no, it's just me. Can we do this after breakfast? And then, Maria Hill steps up and essentially announces herself as the acting director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course, she's the acting director because apparently Nick Fury tried to break up the party the night before when he tried to get into Caesar's palace, and the two guards stopped him. And this is to me, was the funniest line in the entire episode. Korg essentially is going to like cannonball into the fountain out front of the casino, doesn't even see Nick Fury, and like barrels right through him. But if you're not listening, you may miss it. He actually runs by shouting, "Ball cannons!" And I don't ask me why I find that hilarious, but when you hear it in Taika Waititi's voice and just the inflection on ball cannons, it's funny. It's right up there with "Hey man." We're gonna start a revolution. Want to come?
Oh, the foundations are going.
Yeah, exactly.
I
All
love
right.
it.
So now we get everybody off to Shield headquarters, and Coulson. They're talking about sort of first contact, and it's like, why me? And Hill's like, because you were the first one to warn us. So even though nobody answered the phone, her messages apparently did get through, and Shield has been watching all along. And then Coulson comes up with, it's almost like, remember the line from Avatar? Did we all roll our eyes when they said they were going after unobtainium?
Yeah.
How dumb that was.
Unobtainium, yeah.
Unobtainium, like, oh my god, like if there ever was a bigger piece of plot armor.
That's a crazy sort of. I always thought that was a nod to the early Jack Kirby style.
Oh,
Stan Lee,
I
where they
suppose
were
so.
just crazy names for things that they were just jamming science names together.
Yeah.
Pluto nuclear, just, and so I kind of always thought that was a nod to that. Still can't be.
It could be. It absolutely could be. I just found it like the next line from Coulson is in the same vein as that, where he's like, it's spreading. It's spreading now. And they're like, what? What's wrong? The party atmosphere. It's now spread to Canada, France. I'm like, what? Like it's its own energy thing? Like, and I guess so. Because at this point we don't know that we don't know. I mean, we know as the viewers, but in media res, they don't know that the energy associated with the destruction of that planet was the energy of the Bifrost that we witnessed at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
The party atmosphere is its own energy. I don't get it.
I mean, this could be, if you want, we could like make it a broader what if title, and what if this was a party universe? What if
oh, I guess
universe, everybody in it seems like stoked, whether Thor has a different
that's
ability,
true.
maybe he actually has this uber charisma that he taps into that he doesn't necessarily.
Right.
Women swoon and men want to be him.
I guess so, yeah.
So maybe
anyway, it's funny, but it's the one. It was the one like real cringy moment where I went, ooh, I don't know if that works.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
But the next part does work because Hill's like, all right, or Rumlow shows up with the big case, and she's like, okay, the last resort. And they're like, what? The last resort? What? And they popped the case open, and dun dun dun. We just dialed up Captain Marvel using the 90s beeper. All right. The next one is kind of cool because we get this, we go back to the party and we see kind of what's going on. Party's still swinging away. And I'm not 100% certain that that's supposed to be Aisha, but it's definitely members of the Sovereign.
Right.
It could be Queen Aisha. I looked at her, some of her screenshots for comparison. The headdress that she wears in the film is far more ornate than that. But at the same time, she's also the only character that wears a headdress. So I guess I'll leave that up to you if that's Aisha or not. But definitely two members of the Sovereign.
Well, she doesn't want to wear her really good stuff to the party because it could get trashed.
That's entirely possible.
I think that's her iPhone.
Yeah. It's the same one that Loki drops.
Right.
It's Thor's phone. It has to be. He's taking the selfie with them.
Fully.
All right. So then we get, speaking of Thor, got to go back to this guy, and the Frost Giants roll up with Loki leading the way, and there's some banter about, what did you just call me? And then they have this, brother from another mother. Yeah, brothers forever. Ice bros.
Lando and Han moment for a second.
So I'm gonna step out of the episode for a minute, and I'm gonna come back to the reality of our show here for a second, and I'm gonna ask the question: if Odin returned the infant to Laufey, why is he still called Loki? Do I believe for 1 second that Odin named the baby and then handed him back, and King Laufey said, "Sure, I'll go with it"?
Right.
Maybe.
Right. That might have been too confusing for some of the.
I think so. Yeah. Probably just
some
for
of us
the
understood it, Wes, but you might have to repeat it for those of us that didn't.
Well,
definitely not me.
You see, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm not going to do it. I don't like it when you guys pick on me. All right. And then in one of my favorite, and it doesn't matter what property it is, because this comes up a lot, but it made uber famous. in a little Paramount picture you may have heard of called Raiders of the Lost Ark. We get Captain Marvel traveling by map. And I love travel by map. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things that works in everything it's in.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. So Captain Marvel swoops in traveling by map, and she comes face to face with Thor and basically says, listen, you need to clean up your little thing and you need to move on and get off this planet. And he's like, no, I like it here. And then like they go really, really to the edge when they say, Thor's like, there's a Midgardian word for women like you.
Oh, wow,
and there's like this little, like literal, like pin drop pause, like party pooper. And there we go. So then we get this whole like smashy montagey of them mixing it up, and she basically says, you need to put the hammer down, and of course he does, as he puts the hammer down heavy and launches Captain Marvel all the way to the United Kingdom by map. And over the course of the battle, we get the intentional toppling of Stonehenge.
Fantastic.
There's also a moment here. This is really cool. This is stuff that we should have seen more of in the MCU proper. Is Captain Marvel's, for you guys in the comics, this is an old hat for you guys, but for those of us who the MCU is our gateway, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't realize that she could like just stand there and absorb that much energy.
She's crazy powerful.
It's pretty awesome. This was pretty awesome that she was able to take that full, the lightning blast of lightning blasts, as it were, like the Hela-sized lightning blast, and just kind of like, thanks for the boost.
Yep.
All right. So they keep fighting, and eventually they make their way back to Las Vegas, where, another piece of plot armor. Thor drops Mjolnir on her and says, you need a timeout. And of course, the internet goes nuts saying, why didn't he just do that, in the main narrative in the films? Why didn't he just like pin the guy down?
He does it to that dragon in Ragnarok or whatever, that creature.
Oh, that is true. In its mouth. Yeah. One of the most creative uses in the films.
Very cool.
All right. And then basically, oh, wait, was it here? Oh, right. Phone rings, and Jane's, who's still, I think she's standing on the bridge of the helicarrier at this point. They're discussing sort of the contingency of what's going to happen if she can't deal with Thor. And the phone rings, and she has to excuse herself, and she's like, trying to cover that it's not him. And he's like, when can I see you again? Typical, man who's just enamored with her. Meanwhile, across the world, the shenanigans continue with Surtur, who's trying to mac on the Statue of Liberty and ends up knocking her arm off. And again, this is the point. What I said earlier on was the only reason that this works is because it's an alternate universe. Because as soon as I saw Surtur, I'm like, really? Why did he show up to party?
Because he's down to party.
Again, as you said, Hank, if we think of it as this is the party, really the party universe, then I guess it's okay.
Yeah, and then it sort of makes more sense.
Yeah, it does. And then we get a nice flyby shot of what I called Mount Frostmore.
Oh, nice. Very wordplay, sir.
Mount Frostmore. And then we finally get some forward motion on the episode where Jane has finally gotten a hold of Dr. Eric Selvig, who has basically given her control of one of his satellites that is apparently pointed out into space, kind of monitoring what's going on out there. And she basically rigs up an amplification device to try to attract the attention of Heimdall, because they posit that if there is a Thor and he's the real Thor, that there must also be an Odin and a Frigga and a Heimdall. And Darcy says, and a what?
Do we think this is what attracted Ultron?
So, that probably is. If it wasn't the energy of the Bifrost itself, because I don't know where like time-wise speaking, has he been to Asgard yet? To a version of Asgard? The version of Asgard we see get destroyed?
Right.
I don't know.
And maybe it's just as simple as like incoming signal, outgoing signal.
Right.
So she just broadcast anywhere.
Well, this is what
Of course.
like if you yell loud enough, somebody's going to hear like,
Right.
what?
Right. Not
And
necessarily the person you want to hear. Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
And then the question is it her or is it, Darcy Lewis when she's like, well, the owner of the
Right, which would even be more hilarious. Yeah,
uh,
that's a great. I love that little bit of riffing there.
so Heimdall does the summoning and pulls her over to Asgard to the Bifrost, and she's like, so about Thor, and he immediately jams the sword back into the Bifrost and starts looking, right? And of course then puts Jane over to wherever Frigga has gone, so, presumably somewhere on Asgard with her sister and her other lady friends,
A retreat.
who are apparently like to have a little bit of wine. I think she called, is that Chardonnay? And she's like, it's a seasonal.
Funny thing though, like with Jane posturing, if this is Thor
Yeah.
and there's an Odin and whatever, they leave out Loki.
Well, there you go, right? So
Because like if Norse mythology on Earth is still a thing there,
but in this, but it wouldn't be
based on a
because,
fact like it's supposed to be there.
yeah, I mean, if that's the
Loki's
same,
not Odin's son, isn't
right?
into mythology.
Yeah, I mean, if Loki's never been to Midgard, even as a frost giant, then maybe Loki does exist as a frost giant. It's just not explored in this
version of the Norse mythology.
So yeah, exactly. With Jane coming face to face with Frigga, she kind of explains what's going on, and Frigga is not happy because, as Thor says, "Wow, you must be using an awful lot of dark magic to do that." As she basically says, "Whatever you're doing, I'm coming." And so immediately the tone changes, and the fight with Captain Marvel stops. And now Thor is trying to convince everybody to help him clean up. But of course, his closest pal, Loki's like, no, man, we just got this thing. We're going to make the world's largest slingshot from the St. Louis Arch.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Frigga on her way does not look happy. But, as Captain Marvel says, listen, my only advice for you is to start in the corners and clean your way out. And he's like, but finally, once things do get moving, things go fairly well. Surtur basically welds the arm of Liberty back on, and they stand up Stonehenge, and they kind of fix everything that they broke, including the tower at Pisa.
Right. Right.
I think you went a little too far there, guy.
I just laugh at the fact that, children in history go from who built Stonehenge, we're not sure, to, oh, Thor did, and it was last week.
Yeah. That's funny. And then finally, Frigga, mom, shows up in Italy, traveling by map, I might add as well. We get that like 3 or 4 times in the episode. And there it is, Thor there with the study group. And it's funny because study group also includes the Grandmaster is there.
Getting his learn on.
Why? Because learning is magic, I think is what he says. And mom is, thoroughly impressed that that's happening. And you get this nice moment where Captain Marvel actually covers for him, and she shows up with a tablet. She's like, oh, here's the stuff that you asked for. And I included a few documentaries, or it was a thing on human culture, I think it was. And he's like, oh yeah, thank you. And as Frigga's like, okay, well, it's time to go. He's like, well, just a minute. And he goes to summon Mjolnir. And unfortunately, it is covered in the debauchery of the night. The night
like
before.
The trope when Superman throws a baseball around the world and it comes back and it's got all the stickers from the
place. Yeah, that's everywhere in the world.
It's awesome. I love that trope.
And then the cover is blown, and I can just see her taking him by the ear, and away they go. Meanwhile, you get Jane and Darcy, who are now back out in the desert, gone back to their work, and there's a thump on the van, and basically knock, 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 and it's Thor who shows up with flowers and says, you called my mom on me. It wasn't very nice, but I guess it was the right thing to do. And so then we get the line, and here's where we get the line where they talk about the destruction of the planet, and she says, you didn't really destroy a planet, did you? And he tells her, he says, well, it was really more like an asteroid, and it was already breaking up, and we just sort of helped it along.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe he was partying on.
So again, that's one of those.
With the Loki world? I can't recall the name of it.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I can't even think of it now.
I can't place it either.
Yeah,
But yes,
yeah.
the
I know
world
what
that's
you're saying.
already blown up.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Maybe it was that place. But she says, so no, she does follow it up to say, so nobody got hurt. And he's like, no. And then he says, even Gary the sheep made it home. All right. And then we get the big closeout of our episode. And I mean, this is the big closeout. And here it comes in a what could have been a post-credit stinger. They just throw it in there as part of the regular episode. A portal opens up in the middle of the desert and out floats wow, it's the Ultron Vision hybrid
Mhm.
who basically says, oh, there is intelligent life on this planet. And then the episode ends like
Crazy.
surreptitiously, just done. So that, my friends, was a quick run through of what if Thor were an only child. I will say this, it is the weakest of all the episodes in the entire series, if you ask me. Not saying that it's bad, but it is the weakest of them all. And yes, as much as the zombie episode was played for humor to keep it from getting too serious, they overdid it, in my opinion, in this one. But still works as a good setup for the next one.
In a way, though, this one was kind of essential because, like, the last three
Yeah,
were so dark.
that's true.
You kind of had to do something to balance that out and bring it back to a positive humor side.
Yeah, I'll give you that for sure. You got any final thoughts on that one, Hank? What do you think?
I mean, I liked a lot of the stuff. It's not the Thor that I like, but the reason Siebert's acting like that sort of justified it. And then, like you say, the campiness of the whole episode, it just, as it snowballed almost out of control.
Right.
And it was really just, it's like telling a long form joke and the punchline is horrible. And the punchline is what I like to call ultra vision.
Well, it just keeps punching.
Right.
Yeah, that actually works.
So I guess that brings me to here. You guys are a little frozen.
Yeah, we're off. Where are we now? We're down to what if?
Episode
what
8.
if Ultron won?
What if Ultron won?
Did you want me to go through the? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh well, like, yeah, you could do the Wikipedia thing.
I can do that if you like.
I have a subtext to the title of this movie. It's like, what if we actually got the Age of Ultron from the comics?
Oh yeah.
I mean, Age of Ultron was a great film and everything, but it was sort of unfulfilled promise if you read the Age of Ultron comics, because he literally takes out a galaxy.
Oh wow.
It's crazy. So yeah, read the Wikipedia.
All right. Well, why don't yeah, we'll touch on that and then
Okay.
you can break it down for us. Okay, so Ultron, having taken the Mind Stone and visions of a Vibranium body, has defeated the Avengers and has launched a global nuclear holocaust, killing most of humanity. When Thanos appears on Earth to complete the Infinity Gauntlet, Ultron bisects him and takes the rest of the Infinity Stones, using them to create a massive drone army with which he wipes out almost all life in his universe. Ultron then hears the Watcher discovering the existence of the multiverse and attacks the Watcher in his multiversal observatory. Meanwhile, Clint Barton and Natasha Romanoff survive Ultron's attacks and find a copy of Arnim Zola's mind in Siberia. They upload Zola into a drone body to try to destroy Ultron's hive mind, but it fails because Ultron has left their universe. Barton sacrifices himself to allow Romanoff and Zola to escape from the other drones. Ultron battles the Watcher across different universes and defeats him. The Watcher flees to Strange Supreme's collapsed universe to ask him for help, while Ultron plans to conquer the multiverse. Heavy. I call that heavy.
It's very heavy. So we start the episode with these guys, and I guess there's a couple of cool things going on. We're not sure what's going on at this point. We haven't got the preamble, but we know that we're in some sort of dystopian future.
Yeah.
There's armies of Ultrons everywhere. There doesn't appear to be any like this. We're in a city at least that's abandoned.
Right.
And their banter suggests that they're two of the last people alive. Hawkeye's got an Ultron arm. I know there's a lot of talk about what kind of arm does he have. A Wakandan arm? Does he? It's when you pause on the right.
One of the drone arms.
It's totally one of the drone arms.
That makes sense to me.
which almost veers too close to the Dark Knight's version of Green Arrow, an armless archer.
Oh, yeah.
But so they're headed to the Kremlin because they're pretty sure that what they need to defeat Ultron inevitably is there. And I mean, there's some cool stuff. There's some really cool trick archery. There's some crazy motorcycle physics where it appears that maybe Black Widow has taken the super soldier formula because she's able to like decapitate Ultrons with a bike.
You kind of wonder.
So she's outperforming. She's really, really good in this. There's one of my favorite, like I'd like to draw it. It's a little later in the episode, but when she lands with the Red Guardian's shield in that, almost a nod to the film joke. I love that image actually.
The cat pose or whatever they call it.
Right, but with the shield, dressed in her black, but surrounded by the white snow. It's a very
yeah.
So let's see. We're headed to the Kremlin to find something to stop Ultron. And like you say, in this universe, Ultron managed to download into Vision's body, so we don't get Jarvis's voice. We get Ultron's voice played by another actor, and I just Ultra Vision fits so perfectly. That's just what I've been calling him. I don't know if anybody else is calling him that, but I love inventing these new names for these guys: Doctor Strange and Ultra.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty cool.
And then we get into sort of the meat of what's happened, and it's almost identical to the Age of Ultron comic, where he's just destroyed the Earth with nuclear weapons. And we also get a War Games reference.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Where she references, would you like to play a game? Which is actually referenced in another MCU movie where she basically says that as her and Steve are looking for Arnim Zola in the first place.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
She references
in the missile silo.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
And what actually the difference here is that Tony doesn't get the virus in time, and those red dots are actually nuke strikes landing.
Yeah.
And if you were to like be able to play that image, it just gets redder and redder and redder. And we get a shot of General Ross's face. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over out the high. That's indicative of it's over at the highest levels.
It's the most humble he's ever been.
Right. We don't know who the president is in this world, so that's our top tier guy.
I just presumed it was Morgan Freeman.
Right.
Maybe.
Right. If not God.
Yeah.
And so that's just to let us know that it's actually over. There's no shield. There's no government. There's no. And
there's nothing left.
Luckily, two Avengers were in a Quinjet. Plot armor.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, anyway, a few of them can fly.
They just did not.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. So then we're back sort of on track, and we have to find this object that we're looking for. And where am I here? Destruction of most life. Also in a weird moment, I thought so. After Ultron is basically Ultra Vision has taken care of life on the planet except for two of them. Thanos steps through a portal, and right. It's on, right? Because,
that's what I thought too. Yeah.
Right. And then he cuts him in half, and in this, I don't know if it's a nod to the Snoke thing from The Last Jedi.
Yep.
But I found this worse than that because
he's got
5 Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
And the other guy's got 1. I was like, at least there could have been a battle.
I was just gonna say it's the opposite of what we got in the movie, where there was all that hesitation, and when they finally did attack, it was too late because he had time to formulate his defense.
I mean, that's possible too.
And I mean, in this, Ultron takes what, a fraction of a second. That's interesting. Done.
Right.
I mean, if the Avengers had have done that, maybe things would have been different.
I mean, it's very possible. Very possible. I do have a theory about Endgame, and I think that Carol Danvers could have actually tuned.
Yeah.
And so I actually have a little problem with the fight that she has with him in this too.
Yeah. Okay.
But
sure.
So I mean, he tunes Thanos. There's no two ways about it. He splits him in half, which is also it's not lost on me that his idea was to split everything evenly half, nice and
yeah.
So that's not lost on me that she splits him, or he splits Thanos in half.
Yeah, in half.
But then at that point, it's actually just it's really over because he doesn't even need the gauntlet, just absorbs the stones into his armor, and we have the infinity armor on ultra vision.
Yes.
And he suddenly realizes that now that he's starting to tune into that cosmic level of consciousness that you get.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
it's
yes.
not refined yet, but he's tuning into it, and he suddenly realizes there are more worlds.
It's a whole bigger
it's
world
a
out
big
there.
ball game.
Yeah.
Every handful is a new taste. So then he starts to focus on, for the viewer, for the fan, familiar places that we visited in the MCU.
Right.
And he lets Asgard have it.
Right.
First, he raises an army.
Oh, that's right. He
Yeah.
army out of the ashes because an archer and an assassin.
You get that horror movie trope, or the where like the big undead villain raises all the minor undead minions.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's also that nanotech that Tony had developed for that nanotech armor. He's
for
really
for what were they called, the Iron Legion, I guess.
Right. Super armor around the world.
Yeah.
And so then he visits Asgard and does a Ragnarok, straight up the same explosion from Ragnarok is animated there. He visits Ego, I believe. He destroys the planet Ego, or the living Ego. He goes to the Sovereign.
Yep.
Where we actually get to see Gamora, who's been just a no-show in the whole series.
Yeah.
And timelines start to get weird here too, because like we're for this, it was strange to me that we just saw Thanos.
Yep.
Circa Age of Ultron.
Yep.
But now we're seeing Gamora.
Yes.
Well past that, circa Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I presume that each destination was a different universe. That they weren't all in the same universe, but I could be wrong on that one.
Well, he doesn't leave his universe until he sees the Watcher.
Until after the Watcher. Oh, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, poo-poo on me.
I have a huge problem with who did he sacrifice to get the Soul Stone if Gamora is still alive?
Yeah. That's an interesting one too.
So
now, how did he even find it?
Right. Before I had posited
we took it from
if all of these what ifs were from the same universe, just different timelines.
Yeah.
Then when the Red Skull is killed by Shumagorath, there's nobody to defend the Soul Stone.
Right.
Whoever shows up to get it gets it.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah.
I think, but the idea is that the Red Skull became the character Death in that moment, and that previously to that, off camera, the Red Skull had to defeat the character Death to become Death to protect the Soul Stone. So I don't know.
Right.
That's crazy plot hole for me, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. No,
we do.
It does. Yeah. Now that you say that,
I'm wondering if. Yeah. As soon as I saw that, it's out of order. It's out of order.
Yeah.
So
I guess that really. I think that's where that missing episode comes into play. Where that missing episode was before this one.
Right. Or yes, it would. I think it would have to be. I don't think it would be part of the trilogy. I think it
no.
Episode 7.
Outside of that, yeah.
Right. Hard to say. We're gonna know next year for sure.
Yeah, I hope that they do use it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he destroys the Sovereign. He destroys Sakaar. We get to see Korg in a last ditch effort. Holding his own. And then finally Xandar. And I guess Captain Marvel, being the Nova homeworld there, decides to challenge him. And I thought, okay, here we go again. Like this is going to be.
Yeah.
We're going to get what I thought we were going to get with Thanos. We're going to get this now.
Right.
And to a certain degree, we do. Of all the characters in the MCU, I'd have to say this version of Carol Danvers is one of the few characters that I like better than the comic version.
Oh, cool.
So I really, it's very controversial. I really enjoyed the Captain Marvel movie, and I
liked it as well.
Brie Larson's performance as this character, because it's one of my favorite moments in Endgame is where she's like, "Hey, Peter Parker." There's something so genuine about that.
Yeah, just like two dudes meeting on the street.
Right. And so, she and this is a Carol Danvers or a Captain Marvel that we understands her power here. because she's just immediate. She's not playing games, much like Vision wasn't playing games with Thanos, I guess. But she takes him into the core of the planet.
That's right. Yeah.
And maybe it is a hesitation thing here.
It's funny now that you say that, because that was a line in my episode that I didn't make the connection to, because they actually talk about when Carol is going to take on Thor. The idea was they actually mentioned about driving him into the center of the planet.
Right.
And then they don't actually do that.
No,
she's like, well, if I take him to Siberia or the Mojave Desert, she's like, yeah, then I can just aim for Siberia.
Right.
Yeah, interesting.
And so, I mean, he overpowers her, which I kind of think that she's that cosmic level power that this, it could go be either way, but certainly
should have been maybe a little closer.
He destroys the planet, which assumedly destroys her, but I actually don't think so. So I think we see her next season.
That version of her
in this timeline.
Cool.
Still fighting. I think she's way too powerful for even a planetary explosion. I mean, she's in the core.
Yeah, really.
Hand to hand with a guy with 6 Infinity Stones, and
we just watched her absorb the lightning bolt of all lightning bolts. So you think that the whatever energy is at the core of the planet, she should be able to dose on some of that.
It might be enough to dose her into a binary form too.
That's what I mean. Like,
right. She becomes the Herald of Galactus at some point.
In
the 616. And so I guess now that he's destroyed everything in this galaxy, or this version of the universe, assumedly that's what's happened. He gets a moment of like his purpose has been fulfilled for now, and so
that's right.
That moment of peace, because that's what he's been. He takes he reverts back to the Vision version of himself. He drops the helm, and.
Yep.
It's at this moment, because he's not focused on his prime directive, which is destroy the chaos, bring peace. Now that he's
bring
peace,
order.
He hits a new level of cosmic awareness, and that's why he can sense the Watcher in this scene.
Yeah.
And the Watcher realizes that mid-narrative, like he's so.
Isn't there a line about there's more, like where he just reflects? Oh, there's more.
Well, he turns around and says, "I see you."
Yeah.
Who's there?
And that's not possible. So the Watcher retreats out of goes back into his realm where that's not possible. No. That's happening.
It's almost like a comedy because he's like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Right. And we get to see him for the first time step out of character, if you will, because he's always been
stoic
above everything and stoic and very few words, but the words were, and now you almost see him panic. And so he then decides that, I think this is the part where the Watcher decides that this is the point where there's only one hope, and that hope relies back on that version of Earth that we had seen in the opening, where Nat and Clint were trying to battle Ultron any way they could.
Yeah.
So then we return to the Kremlin ostensibly, and we get a scene of them walking through a warehouse full of crates, and then again, just like the last episode, another nod to Raiders of the Lost Ark. We got a few good men on it.
So he even says, or have you seen?
Right,
have you not seen Raiders?
Yeah.
Totally reference it. And so they're looking for some file, and we don't know what they're looking for, but they've been looking for hours. Hawkeye is done. That might be the most honest sort of portrayal of his character in the whole. He says it several times.
He just cashes in at the end of it. Yeah.
And here there's a thing. Uatu, or actually, the Watcher, is talking directly to them. And he's referencing out loud, "I can't intervene. I should intervene. I think I can intervene."
Yeah.
He can't. There's no way that he can, because they don't have cosmic awareness. I sort of feel that when he's exerting his level of Watcherness, these people can't they're just not on that plane. So what happens here is either luck or serendipity. And I mean, the Death Star plans are not in the main computer. A great legacy line across boundaries there. I love it.
Yep.
And the sentiment, realistically, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm not frustrated. I'm done.
Yeah.
And Uatu has a line, or sorry, I keep saying that, but Watcher has a line here that's really good. He's like, "No, you can't give up. You're human. Hope against all odds is what you do."
Yeah, a broad stroke about the entire human race, which I thought was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Right, and it's a theme in the comics too. It's always what triumphs over galactic crazy abilities to eat galaxies and stuff is always
Yeah,
human
yeah,
willpower. It's always this esoteric thing that you can't put in a
yeah,
box, and it's this our or the beings of the 616's ability to, want to be alive more than you, or or like this sort of sovereignty in,
sure.
in the universe.
During
And so
I was gonna say during Infinity War, I guess Infinity War / Endgame, the question was, who is Clint Barton if his family is dead? And
right,
so now this is like, who is Clint Barton if everybody is dead?
right, and he's got the Ronin haircut. When the
Yeah,
bombs go off, and he says Laura, right? He can't,
yeah,
like, his
yeah.
with his family. It's not, so he's done, and doesn't understand, what are we fighting against? What do we keep fighting against? Let's
Yeah.
just, and
It's
so
one
that's a
thing
very human
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
like very human. One of the
To
most
lose your
human things.
family and then to see him come back because there's a chance they can get everybody back. And I mean, even Ronan to some degree, the Barton Ronan was still out there doing it, albeit in a twisted way, because there were still criminals that somebody need to pay.
And you got to
And
remember, I mean, even though it's off camera,
yeah,
the character of Hawkeye started out as a Hydra agent.
yeah.
So they, whether it's the will of the Force, if you will, or
Sure.
the silent urgings, or the of the Watcher, that hope beyond hope actually happens, and it's the Widow who doesn't give up, and she checks that last box, and lo and behold, Arnim Zola is a file inside that box, and that's a name we all recognize from watching the
It
movies, and that's that.
never even
Yeah,
occurred to me that they were going to go that way. Never saw this one
that's
coming.
a great twist. That's a great twist, actually. It was a
She
little bit
also
like handing, going from really bad to worse. The second I thought, we're gonna put his consciousness in Ultron, I went, you're actually creating a way worse
Yeah,
monster.
well, yeah.
Like, how much of a worse monster is
Yeah.
killing universes? Like, holy cow, we're gonna get into like only universes full of white people, maybe. That could be, that's pretty dangerous. Like, the connotations of a Hydra agent doing like these human
Cosmic
hate
level.
things to the
Yeah.
universe, rather than a cold and calculating kind of evenly distributed computer.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So luckily, they find a computer. Oh, I guess they go all the way to Siberia.
they
And
do,
they
but
is that it yet? No, wait a second.
they also find something else in those boxes too, though.
Did I miss one?
You did.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, that's right. I did. It's in my notes, but I skipped over that.
Red Guardian shield. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, and that's sort of where you get the idea that Clint is exasperated, because that doesn't even make, she's trying to joke, give you a hand at the beginning with his
the robot arm.
and
Yeah.
shield, and this is a great moment too, because it sets up that visual that I like, and then you get to she wields the shield pretty well too. Like it's a good look.
Yep.
I like it. Oh, so they actually find the computer.
Found the computer terminal.
Luckily, Clint's got a USB arrow that has enough room on it to hold the entire consciousness of a space Nazi. And
I just want to say, of course, he's got a USB arrow.
Of course,
Well, at least they're letting him have the trick
yeah.
arrows.
Right. And so it works. He downloads the consciousness, or the sum of his Arnim Zola-ness into the arrow, and then the Ultrons show up, and in a dramatic moment, Clint gets off a shot, pegs one right in the eye. Of course he does. He's the preeminent archer, and it begins to download, and it actually works faster than they thought it would. And Widow, being astute, doesn't trust new Ultron, Ultra Zola, and takes the legs off the robot, so it limits his ability to, and instantly after contact in 3, 2, 1, and instantly all the punching at the door, much like that episode of the Mandalorian, just stops.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, did we win? And it's that moment of like, okay, now what? Now we're gonna have to fight a new guy. What's gonna happen here? And then the punching starts again, and sort of the punchline now. They begin to understand this is a bigger problem, because we're not connected to the central sort of hive mind And she's like, what does that mean? And he's like, he's not anywhere in the visible universe. And then we cut to a crazy cosmic level fight sort of in the Watcher's realm, where they're just wielding all kinds of crazy power.
Yep.
And we've never seen the Watcher wield power, but there's a little bit of toe-to-toe there until the Ultravision smashes through reality and pushes the Watcher out into one of the universes. And it's kind of neat that like it shatters like glass, like the opening of the show, but as they fall, that hole remains open. I think that might be important.
It does,
forward. And that there's
according to the head writer
all over the place. Right.
I love the I don't know what you call it. We call it the Watcher armor. What do you want to call it? The mental suit or whatever it is.
We got that power up shot.
Right. There's the power up shot.
That outline. I mean, I got like, what? Because the outline was very Kang-esque.
And so, well, this is the. Do we have the shot of the comic
book
shot? Yeah,
we do.
So, and now this actually changes a few things in my head, because we might have just defined our Watcher in a more specific sense. So this is Aaron the Renegade, and he's actually the nephew of Uatu, which is the 616 Watcher that we're all
right. Yeah.
Uatu, because of what he does with the Fantastic Four and interferes with Galactus, has to go to the Watcher homeworld. So that's another thing, that there's a planet that these people inhabit. Although they exist outside the multiverse in their offices, there's a planet that they all live on. Assumedly, Ultron has destroyed that as well. But this armor is the armor of Aaron the Renegade, because he's actually hiding from all the other Watchers. He's posing as this other being, although his head looks identical.
Well,
love comics in the 70s.
Yeah.
Now I'm Superman. So I think that, and I'm sorry, let me back up a bit. So Uatu has to go home to his homeworld, where he has to face trial for and so there's no one watching Earth right now, so they give the job to his nephew, and his nephew is like becomes obsessed with the Fantastic Four even more than Uatu. He infiltrates them, he clones them, he has the two Fantastic Fours fight, he realizes his mistake, and then Uatu comes back to be his mentor and teach him how to watch the Earth properly. But the armor is a super strong indication that this isn't Uatu, and that it is his nephew, who's the interim guardian of Earth through the multiverse. Just a thought.
Across that whole fight, and I don't know where it is in the framework of the episode, but there's some dialogue between the Watcher and Ultron about level of power, and the Watcher throws this line at him like, your programming can't even conceive
the power of my will.
Yeah.
Right.
And yet apparently it can.
Apparently it can.
Apparently it can.
Let's see here. We got
we do get a really heartbreaking Echo moment, though.
Oh,
where the Ultrons are getting ready to burst through Hawkeye's little energy field.
That's right. Yeah.
And he's hanging on, whereas, similar to Endgame.
Yeah. Where he gets the sacrifice this time.
Yeah.
Balls, yes.
Yeah.
And he just says, I'm done, but I'm going out fighting.
Yeah.
He's got an arrow he probably should have used hours ago. Some crazy nuclear weapon arrow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But this leads to your favorite shot of her doing that pose.
That's right.
The pose, yeah.
Out of so I love that image. In the snow, the black costume, the red Guardian shield. It's a nice shot. And so then
probably safe to say that the Yelena Belova version is never going to do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, right? Or they could double down on it. They could double down on it.
Who knows?
Now the
maybe
after she's made fun of it for an entire movie.
Right. Ultron is punching the Watcher through realities, and they're flying through from one reality to another. And this one, I sort of think it's a nod to Mustafar. I know I think you guys
you're not the only one,
but it was focusing on the sort of the Vader-esque tower in the background, and you were like, yeah, maybe, but the bridge, but I didn't have this image with all the lava falls, so,
yeah.
I even think more that it's a nod to Mustafar.
I
think that one of the images is Kang's pyramid,
The popular comic book explanation for this one is it's Muspelheim.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
One of the realms.
Yeah.
Nice, very cool. And then the forge. I didn't get a shot of it, but the forge where Thor gets
The
the
dwarf,
new
the dwarf,
Stormbreaker
uh,
forged. I
Nidavellir.
believe it is in
Nidavellir, yeah,
Nidavellir is in one of the images briefly too.
yeah,
But we actually see the Watchers like he's now they're when cosmic beings have a fist fight, it's you understand that these punches would break planets. So and he's blocking with his hands, he's throwing rights, he's headbutting Ultron, he's
yeah.
holding his own. When suddenly Ultron is the size of a galaxy, or I guess more.
Yeah.
And I think everybody in the world thought that suddenly, why is Galactus here? Suddenly, what is going on? We have drawn the ire of Galactus.
I mean, I'm looking at that image.
He's got the horns. I don't know what's going on there.
That thing looks like this. I mean, to me, that's an entire galaxy.
Right.
Like the whole swirling thing. Yeah.
Right.
And
So
like a bite out of the Milky Way.
Yeah.
he takes and maybe this is the idea that we're going to take the World Eater and trump that as much as we can.
Yeah.
So he takes a bite out of this galaxy. Oh, and then so because of that, the Watcher falls through a portal and lands in another universe, but lands in the sort of the classic Marvel New York City, right in Times Square. But clearly now his powers are diminished.
Yep.
And I don't have a shot of this, but regular people are now snapping cell phone photos
Yes.
of this guy laying in the street.
Like what?
And as Ultron appears, you see on the screen you see Steve Rogers being
President Rogers
of the United States.
Good for you, Steve.
And I'm wondering if this isn't the Captain Carter universe where
that we saw in the first episode,
right? Where they find Steve's shield at the end.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's not, only because that version of Steve Rogers should be much smaller.
You would
maybe
think.
Do you think that they buffed him?
Actually,
but
I agree with you.
If we're out of time context here, it's possible based on the cutscene of the last episode.
Or even
but I mean, I'm just saying that version of Steve Rogers, yes, he survived, but I mean, that version of Steve Rogers never received the super soldier serum, and that guy in that image is far more filled out than the little scrawny kid from
Brooklyn. Maybe I'm getting my episodes wrong. There's one of the episodes literally ended on it could be, it couldn't be. It might even be the universe where Widow is dead.
Yeah, maybe.
Later on. One last pitched battle, and Ultravision appears to be gaining the upper hand, and pounding him there. And there's a part where he grabs his sort of skull, and it's like begins cracking, and his power is ebbing. And then with one last sort of thing, he retreats, like he just blinks out of existence. Ultron has the super villain line. You can run, you can watch, you can do whatever you want, but I see everything. And then we find out where the Watcher went, which was the sort of last-ditch effort
into the pocket dimension
dimension to see Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
and they have a moment which maybe speaks to the redemption of Doctor Strange here, where he's like, "You're going to make me say it," and they have a moment back, like they may have talked for longer than we saw them talk.
Yeah.
Maybe they talk a lot. You're going to make me say it. I need your help. Cut to black as the little pocket universe fades into the distance.
Yeah, and then so now you get this sense of like, by now like, the finale of the show is going to be sort of the what's the word I'm looking for? The culmination of what we've just built up in the last 2 episodes. That's right. At this point, I'm like, had no idea. Really, up until these episodes, I actually thought that everything was just standalone. I had no idea that they were going to link it all together. But going into the 3rd episode and now having seen it, no surprise that they've wrapped this together with a neat little MCU style bow, just like they did over 20 years of
everything is connected.
The 90s version of the What If comic
or 10 years
with this exact same thing.
Yeah,
which was the Watcher hand picking people from the adventures that had been in the run to battle a multiverse breaking, and actually they're running with this currently in the MCU. They have the Avengers of the Multiverse. I think I might have spoke a little bit about the Tony Stark is the invincible Ant-Man.
Oh, wow.
And
That's a different
he
take.
invented the Ant-Man, the PIM technology, or stole it.
Oh,
or whatever.
really? So what do they call them? Stark particles?
He's not
Starkticles?
He's not a weapons dealer. He's an archaeologist.
Oh my God.
Totally different kind of take on things. Captain
Indiana
Carter is actually
Stark.
in the comic now.
Oh,
the
wow.
character of Captain Carter. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I'm going to check it out. But it's Avengers of the Multiverse, and this is what they're doing now.
That's interesting.
And it's
is it a
sort of
direct?
like,
Is it a direct tie into the show? Like, is it
no,
meant
but
to
since
serve
Kevin
as that?
Feige is in charge of everything now, and I don't
Yeah.
think you guys like it was sort of similar to the Dave Filoni thing. He's been in charge of the comic book company for a long time, but people didn't really realize that.
Oh, okay.
And so their stars are starting to align.
Right.
Right. So they're starting. They're at a point now where they have to generate new comic stories to generate new, and
Gotcha.
they're more intertwined than they've ever been.
Oh, we've talked about that before with the the full circle moment of the comic books have informed the movies, which are now informing the comic books.
Right.
Just
So,
with the way characters now are drawn, the way they look.
what you're getting now is a Star Wars style story group where they're maintaining strict control of continuity and stuff like that.
You couldn't have said that any better. I was
Right.
thinking that very same thing where, continuities are now interconnected across multiple mediums.
Right. I mean, and you can watch all of Star Wars movies and enjoy them for what they are. You could even watch just the animated series and enjoy them for what they are. But there's like, and I realize for the average viewer, it's overwhelming because there's novels, there's comics, there's children's books that have canon stuff in them that you would never, imagine in a million years. But there's little children's books that have snippets of story that's important. And so if you really want to dive into the whole thing, it's like more expansive than Lord of the Rings ever even dreamt of being. It's almost an accident.
Yeah.
Right. And Marvel is very, very much DC as well. I give credit where credit's due. These are big, expansive mythologies.
Yeah.
And they eclipse like our mythologies by far. Like they're so depth. Like when you talk about like a Spider-Man comic that has 5 volumes and 3 of those volumes have 800 issues. There's no, like, we don't have to tell origin stories every time. We can go crazy. And I think that what If is doing is letting them know that they can do standalone, disconnected one-shots.
Yeah.
Not going to screw up everything. And I think Visions, Star Wars Visions is the same sort of idea.
Yep.
That people will enjoy and watch and can disconnect from that.
I will say this now, having wrapped on What If. We haven't gotten to the last episode yet, but the show itself has now aired all of its episodes, and I will say this, that I can definitely see now the deliberation and the intention of release order: WandaVision, Falcon the Winter Soldier, Loki, then What If.
Yes.
Because you couldn't lead with this and expect the buy-in from the casual viewer. Like, what the hell just happened? You needed a show like WandaVision to start cracking that eggshell, and then Loki to fully to more explain it. And now it's much easier for a viewer to buy in.
Yeah, if you look at the cinematic timeline order on Disney Plus, Loki happens first, and What If happens before WandaVision?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Falcon and Winter Soldier is the
last
weird thing to happen. That's like our last moment.
Funny that they put it out that way.
Yeah. I think COVID.
It's funny that they put it that way.
Things, I think. Yeah. But that's.
I'm sure it did, but
look at the cinematic order. That's the order of things.
That's weird because I feel it actually works better the way I explained it. Yeah.
Well, Loki breaks the timeline, and then all these things cascade out of that. The WandaVision is dealing.
I guess
with
so. Yeah.
That's why I have a strong inclination that those children are her children from a different timeline, and that's why the leaked Doctor Strange plot is Wanda heavy. And
so can we go real heavy for a minute here on that? So if there's a version of Ultravision around there, do you think that's the gateway that Ultravision is going to meet White Vision, and that's going to be the restoration of our vision?
I mean, it's quite possible. They're moving forward with that, the idea of a Captain America, Iron Man,
Yep.
Like the legacy characters. They're moving
Yeah.
right into that second iteration of the Avengers, which was
Yeah.
which was Vision and Wonder Man and
Yep.
Tigra and
Yeah.
Ant-Man, and so they're sort of moving into that. They're also moving heavily into the Young Avengers.
Yeah,
For
sure.
going to be bringing in the Doctor's, because she's already been cast, and it's no secret. It's not a spoiler. I guess if you've never read anything about the Multiverse of Madness, it is. But so then forgive me, plug your ears. But the character of America Chavez, is in that movie, and the leaked sort of script or plot line is that Doctor Strange is trying to protect her as they flee through multiverses, as Wanda is trying to absorb her power.
Oh, wow.
That she can bring her children back to life, or find the multiverse where. So she's not even a bad guy, but she has ill intent. And if you know anything about America Chavez in the comics, she's been around since 2011. She is a crazy, powerful character, young Hispanic girl, and basically she's Miss America, an iteration of Captain America, if you will, but like Superman level power, and the ability to just step through into other universes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's like crazy
powerful. Yeah.
Well, what do you say? Should we crack on with the third or the ninth and final episode?
I suppose we should.
Yeah. All right. You want to? Okay, so we're moving on.
We are
back to our regularly scheduled program. For those of you who haven't, just in case you're wondering why we look different this week, it's because we had a catastrophic failure of our computer. So we are back to my old laptop, which may or may not be. It's allowed us to continue. How about that? All right, moving on.
Still going.
We're going to move on now. We're going to talk about what if the Watcher broke his oath. So this is it. This is the final episode of the series, at least for season 1. So the Watcher recruits Strange Supreme without sour cream and chives. Captain Carter, Star-Lord T'Challa, Party Thor, Black Panther, Killmonger, and a Gamora variant who killed Thanos from their respective universes to battle Ultron. They travel to a universe lacking intelligent life to prepare, but Thor accidentally draws Ultron's attention. T'Challa steals the Soul Stone from Ultron, and Strange summons a horde of zombies as a distraction while the team escapes to Ultron's home universe, where they are then joined by Natasha Romanoff. Ultron overpowers them until Romanoff, with Carter's help, shoots Ultron with an arrow containing Arnim Zola's mind. Zola erases Ultron from the inside, while Killmonger takes Ultron's armor and the Infinity Stones. Zola, now controlling Ultron's body, fights Killmonger for the stones. Strange and the Watcher seal Zola and Killmonger in a pocket dimension, which Strange agrees to watch over. The Watcher returns Strange, Carter, T'Challa, Gamora, and Thor to their respective universes. Romanoff refuses to return to her ruined universe, so the Watcher brings her to the universe in which the Avengers candidates were assassinated, where she helps defeat Loki in a mid-credit scene. Carter and her universes, Romanoff discovered that the Hydra Stomper armor with someone inside.
True.
All true.
All true.
I saw it.
So,
All true.
Yeah, this one is like star-studded. So
big time, yeah.
There's only a handful of people that didn't return for their roles in this one, but more return than not.
We've got GSP came back one more time. Yeah.
Come back for Batrock. We open this one. We're on route, as it were, in the same time frame as it would have been for Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
But we're en route to the Lumerian Star.
The boat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we get Captain Carter going over the mission parameters, and we do see that Batrock is back again.
That's right.
And this is parallel to what we saw in the Winter Soldier, and things play out kind of similar.
Yep.
Like Black Widow is still bantering with Captain Carter.
Yeah.
But this time it's like, well, what did you think of Bernard in accounting?
Oh, yes.
And she's like, no, nothing ever good came from the words Bernard in accounting.
Something about what are you doing this weekend?
Yeah.
Implying, like she's like Steve Rogers, who sits home alone and doesn't do anything. And
then she hits her with what if his name was Steve?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, and just when I thought we were getting to be pals. So They jump off, they land on the get on the ship, and they start taking down people, same as the Winter Soldier. But then Captain Carter is caught off guard when the Watcher appears in the sky.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You have been chosen."
Breaks up the fight between her and Batroc.
Yeah. But it's curious, does he even see?
Does Batroc see?
I don't think
I don't think so.
Because she's like, "Do you not see that behind you?"
What?
So she gets chosen, and then we shift gears and we go back to the Dairy Queen where we last saw Peter Quill meeting up with Ego.
Yes.
And the World Bloom is already in place, but the Ravengers have showed up to to deal with it.
That's only going to take 1,000 years.
Yeah. He's like, "Don't worry about it." But T'Challa comes in and he actually saves Peter Quill.
Star-Lord saving Star-Lord.
It is Star-Lord saving Star-Lord. And he takes him outside and he's like, "You just wait here. We'll deal with this."
Yeah.
And I love this line from the Peter Quill actor because he says, "Okay, I'll just hang back with the giant baby man cape dude."
Yeah.
So in this part, yes, Quill can see the Watcher.
Yeah, because at this point now, Peter's just accessed his
his ego
celestial
side.
powers. Yeah.
So the Watcher again, Star-Lord, you have been chosen.
Yeah.
T'Challa Star-Lord anyway. And then again, we jump ship, and this time we find ourselves on Nidavellir.
Nidavellir, yes.
Where they are currently melting down the Infinity Gauntlet. And this is the episode that didn't happen.
Right. This is the version of Tony Stark that we would have explored.
Yeah. According to some websites, it was originally supposed to be one of the 10, but it was held as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yep.
And production delays that came with it.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to feature Gamora and Iron Man teaming up on Sakaar, and we're hoping it'll still be in season 2.
I go a little further than that. Some of the breakdown that I caught last night as I was kind of looking it over was that, as we had already discussed, this version of Tony Stark did not make it back through the hole and ends up adrift in space, and he ends up going to Sakaar. And if you look, there's a shot of that armor that we were talking about before. When you there's a scene in the episode where you can see the front side of it, and it's very much but it's also very much in the Sakaran style. Like, how the Hulk was wearing the fancy war paint.
Yes.
But the similar stylings on the armor, suggesting that, if Tony Stark could build a suit of armor in a cave in Afghanistan, it's no far stretch that he could build a new suit of armor.
What could he build with that junk pile
with
on
Sakaar and tech, right? Yeah. So Tony ends up in the Tournament of Champions, and that's how he ends up meeting Gamora, because she's already the champion. Yeah. Or some version thereabouts.
But as they're pondering how to put a suit of armor around the world,
across the galaxy.
Yeah.
The
Watcher shows up and he's like, "I choose you." And Stark's like, "We're going to kick your butt."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, not you.
Not Stark. You, Stark. Yeah.
So at least they didn't kill him this time.
No, that's so true.
So
can we go back one slide just for a second?
Yeah.
I want to point this out. This one, this is for you, Hank. And for anybody else who's listening, anybody notice how stylistically that suit of armor resembles a Cyclone from a Robotech?
Yeah.
Very much. Even down to there's a close-up of the arm. The arm has 3 claws on it. I'm like, it's like a saber cyclone.
Nice.
Anyway, that's just me nerding out going, wow, that might be influenced that way.
Well, probably. But once he picks up Gamora, then we shift off gears again and we head to Wakanda. And we find Shuri and Pepper getting ready to storm in there and take out Killmonger.
Yeah, so this is where you start putting it together that, these are all the universes we've visited
that we've
before.
So far visited, and left like unresolved things.
This is the war between Wakanda and the United States.
Yeah.
And now the women are trying to
settle
it. Yeah.
And before they can get there, though, the Watcher appears and he chooses Killmonger.
Yeah.
And this one kind of threw me off because, like, the rest of them, he's picking heroes.
Why the villain?
I don't know.
It
makes sense later, but at this point, it didn't make any sense to me.
Also because Michael B. Jordan's a pretty good actor.
Yes. We need more of him.
We do.
Then we shift gears and we find the Ultron invasion in full swing in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And as the Watcher appears to talk to Thor, he's focused completely on taking out Ultrons, and he's like, I had plans. I was going to wash. I was going to do my hair. I'm supposed to date her. There was going to be flowers and candles.
My Lady Jane.
And I think this is like the first comedy beat, because the Watcher can't get a word in edgewise. He's like, Thor. He's like, Thor. Come on, Thor. Pay attention. I'm up here. And finally, he just, reaches down and grabs him.
Yeah, and then you get the Ned Flanders.
Yeah, and he just the whole time, continuing screaming until he finds himself in a pub. And then he finally looks around and it's like, oh. But they arrive in the pub, and the Watcher lays it on him like, I've chosen you guys. You are the last hope.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? You want us to save the universe? And he's like, no, I want you to save all universes.
Yeah, it's a little more than that.
Yeah. And he dubs them the Guardians of the Multiverse. But Thor, he's like, no, this has got to be a prank. And
right.
He opens the door. He's like, no, I'm just going to go now.
Yeah. And then
he almost gets sucked out.
Ned Flanders it one more time.
Yeah. Almost gets sucked out, but he pulls himself back in, and the Watcher lays it on him, here's what you're up against. And we find out, Ultra Vision, as Hank has dubbed him.
Yeah.
He's got all 6 stones, and then he gives them the lowdown on the stones. And Doctor Strange is tending bar, so he gives them all beers and whatnot.
Yeah. Let's have a drink.
And more comedy beats. Thor is like, is there another universe that, interdimensionally delivers Chinese?
Yeah. There's the line is like,
I've got a rumbly in my tummy.
Where Strange says to the Watcher, he's like, you pick them.
Yeah. And it pays off later too, though. But they're like, how are we going to destroy these? And Gamora.
See, I thought all this comedy was a little bit
too much.
Yeah.
By the same token, though, it's a lot. I was going to say it's a little more tame than episode 7.
Yeah. It's just that the tone is so dark, and that like everybody seems to, I guess maybe they don't understand the stakes, but even the Watcher appears to be taking it lightly.
Yeah.
But Thor asks just how we're going to destroy them. And in a similar fashion to when they whipped out the Hadron Collider in the galaxy, Gamora pulls out the Infinity Crusher.
So let's just talk about that for a second, because it took me a second to realize that there's a reason why we're seeing this on Nidavellir. It's because what's his name, the dwarf, made it.
Eltree?
I can't remember his name.
I have it here somewhere.
Because at first I'm like, where does she get a device like that? And I'm like, oh wait, the guy who can make god-killing weapons just made an Infinity Stone crushing machine.
Peter Dinklage.
That
anyway.
was kind of, for me, it
right.
was a lot like bat shark repellent.
Yeah. Kind of like plot armor when you need it, I guess.
Yeah, it's true.
But anyway, they formulate their plan. They get sent off to the world that has no intelligent life left on it.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange starts throwing out, protection spells, and he loses a bit of control here. And we get to see some of the demons coming out. And Captain Carter, he's like, what happened to you?
Yeah.
And he's like, and this is why, I agree that he's reconciled himself and he's back on the side of angels.
Yeah.
And he's like, same thing that happened to you, love.
Yeah.
And they end up, well, this is their 300 night, let's, rest up, have a good meal, and we'll be ready for it. And he again magically whips out the drinks, and then they go on to toast. And Doctor Strange, he, true to his name there, he gives a dark toast. And it's all about like the end of the world and meeting death. And
then T'Challa with the save.
And he's like, let me take it from here. And of course, Thor, smashes the glass and lets off a celebratory thunderbolt.
Yeah.
And this gains the attention of Ultron.
So just like in episode 7 with the thunderbolt of thunderbolts.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, there is life here. So he is on his way. But Doctor Strange decides, we're going to juice you guys up, give them all protection spells.
Right.
And he says, you're going to feel this, but it'll be worth it. So they all get a little bit of protection stuff, and then they set into motion the plan. Gamora and Killmonger, they jump through a portal to await the arrival of one of the stones. And Thor immediately breaking plan. He just says, I know what to do.
Yeah.
And he fires a lightning bolt straight at him with the battle cry of "Viva Las Vegas!" But Ultron, he takes it all, and he says, "I've never heard that battle cry before."
Yeah. And probably never will again.
No. But he ends up bringing the mountain down around them, and I'm 90% sure this is a nod to Empire, but he's like, all too easy.
Oh, the Vader line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
But the protection spells worked, and they pop out from under the rubble, and Thor commences to fire Mjolnir at him.
Yeah.
But Doctor Strange, he casts like a multiply spell.
I really, really liked this
and
scene. It was super cool.
Splits Mjolnir or multiplies it, and he's getting hit from every angle. But this is just a distraction because Captain Carter and T'Challa are coming in from behind.
Right.
And we get to see her just dive bomb him with the shield out like a missile. And even this isn't the full thing.
No, it's good though to see that, you know, that the even though that Ultron is such a almost omnipotent foe that, you know, they're getting their licks in.
Yeah. Like he still hasn't fully attained that cosmic awareness. But for a second, though, we do get to see, I don't know if it's by accident or whatever, but we do kind of get a worthy Cap moment as she grabs a hold of Mjolnir.
Oh, right.
And flies back down to the ground.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, T'Challa has landed on the back of Ultron.
Yes.
And we think he's just there to let off a couple shots, but no, it's a sticky figures play from his episode.
Exactly.
And he gets a hold of one of the gems.
Never doubt sticky fingers.
That's right. So they've got the gem and they're making their way back, but Doctor Strange, he fully unleashes the dragons on Ultron.
I find this, and we got a taste of it with the Shumagorath tentacle hands coming out, that, you know, he can unleash, you know, portions of his chimeric form sort of at will.
Yep. And
agreed.
But Ultron almost brushes this one off, like as powerful as it is.
Yeah.
And finally he takes notice that a stone is missing.
Right.
And Doctor Strange conjures another one, and he opens a portal above him, and we get to see the return of our zombies.
Right. First one out the hole.
Captain America.
Yeah.
Followed by Falcon and Hawkeye.
Yep.
Which, as cool as it is to see them, did they pull themselves back together, or did they get pulled prior
different time
to the episode?
I think it's I mean,
because both Falcon and Captain America were half the men they used to be.
Well, I mean, this is Thor from the episode where Ultron just showed up, so certainly there's something that happened after that episode that we didn't see.
Yeah,
the Watcher's gone and plucked him out from before then.
That's quite possible.
You know, talking about he's still thinking about the party and going in.
And I guess technically he's got Doctor Strange has his time stone, so
that's true. Yeah.
Maybe that's an influence there. But
there are 2 times.
Thor's quick to be like, "Oh, zombies! Those are great."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, it's not the zombies. It's what came
with them."
And we get the return of Zombie Wanda, and she hits him full force with her chaos magic. But Ultron just dusts this one off too. And it's weird because we get to see fear in the eye of a zombie.
Yeah, and that was interesting where the realization of, and that, I guess that ties back to what we were talking about before, like breaking the trope with the zombies retaining their intellect and their powers. The recognition of like, what? That didn't do anything?
Yeah. Because she hit him with all she had. And but we jump universes, and Captain Carter, in almost a comedy moment, she gets bounced around the portal.
Oh, I know,
like, bollocks. But we land in Ultron's home universe, and just as they throw the gem to Gamora, Black Widow shows up and
snatching it mid-air.
But we have a really brief standoff, and it's like, oh, we're gonna get a hero battle. That was another thing too.
Yeah.
Because like they went out of their way in Guardians 2, like that thing was gonna
kill
Peter, and he was half celestial.
Half celestial could not contain the Power Stone by himself.
Yeah, and here they are, just grabbing him up.
Mind you, look at what's his name in the mailroom there in Loki, where it's just like they just tossed him in a tray.
Yeah, but they're deactivated outside their own universe, which is a big thing I'm going to touch on here in a minute.
Right.
The theory is that the TVA
let's hear it.
In the quantum realm, and that's why the stones don't work.
Oh, that is interesting.
Because these stones that Ultron is wielding clearly work
Yeah,
in other multiverses.
Well, yes. I mean that it's all, you can't ignore that. Is now the time maybe to go into that, or
I was going to go into it in a couple
yeah,
frames
okay, well
here,
we'll get to it.
but they have their little standoff moment, but Captain Carter already being BFFs with
Yeah,
Black Widow in her
yeah.
universe kind of wins her over really quick, and they set aside their differences. And
There's actually quite an emotional moment where she, your mother is so and so, your father is so and so,
and
your dad is,
and there's
then,
only 3 people in the world you trust, and I'm lucky enough to be one of them.
Yeah, really cool moment for those two.
But Ultron shows up and he lets loose a blast of energy capable of destroying the planet. But similar to before, Doctor Strange just kind of, sucks it up and eats it.
Yes.
So he's still consuming energy. And
you see on the internet, everybody thinks he eats the Soul Stone here.
I never once thought that, to be honest.
I thought
just
similar to
I just thought he sucked up the blast.
Yeah, similar to
really
similar to Avengers Infinity War, where Thanos uses the gauntlet just to redirect all that fire.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought same idea. He just gathered all that energy up.
Yeah. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah. But they have a really quick battle here, and Ultron's taken aback that Doctor Strange just, ate his attack. And now we get Captain Carter and Black Widow both with shields just going to town on him.
Super cool moment. This is actually one of the best scenes, the you go high, I'll go low.
Yeah.
Love that.
And like everybody starts taking their shots, just coming at him from all angles. And Gamora manages to land a kill shot.
I don't understand why Ultron goes toe to toe with them.
Yeah, like really he shouldn't be, but and this is the part that kind of throws me off here, because I get that they're back in their universe, but he is legitimately using the stones as they're intended.
Yeah,
because as soon as he gets that kill shot landed on him, he activates the time stone and reverses it all.
Yeah.
But because of that, and Doctor Strange having his own time stone, he manages to pop them out of that.
Yes. Yeah. He basically dismisses it.
Yeah. So one of the stones should not be working here, but
I guess in the MCU, the Infinity Stones work across dimensions, or work across universes.
Yeah. Because in the comic continuity, they don't.
Yeah. So, but again, artistic liberty, I guess.
Maybe. But at this point, Doctor Strange, he fully lets loose on his his Shumagorath side. And he's just crazy conjuring up energy and whatnot. And Ultron, seeing this, he uses his stones to make himself, again, go giant.
Right.
But we get the tentacle beast come out, and it just yanks him right back down to size. Yeah. And then he gets pinned down by a bunch of magic and whatnot. And they activate their crusher, and they think they've destroyed the stones.
I actually thought for a minute there, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to win it right here.
And Thor, he's like pulling out, oh, we did it. It's over.
Yeah.
And T'Challa's like, no, it doesn't feel over. And then we get Ultron speaking from all around them, and he lays it on them that each universe is different and unique. And because of that, each set of stones is unique.
Right.
And Gamora clues in. She's like, oh, well, my Infinity Crusher was designed to destroy my set of stones.
Right. So
it didn't work on his.
I guess that's the similarity, is that they can function across universes, but they can't be destroyed across universes.
I see. This is the part where I'm side noting here.
Yeah.
Because it leaves me really unsettled. In the comics, for multiple times, it's been stated they can't be used across universes.
Yeah.
There's a really great scene in the DC crossover where Darkseid picks up the gauntlet and he's like, oh, these don't work here. And he just tosses them aside.
That's hilarious.
But like the Council of Reeds, they've already stated that they're like a bunch of them got a hold of gauntlets.
Right.
And they don't work. So like they can be used in their home universe, but they can't be used to affect the other universes.
Interesting.
But head writer of the show actually took to Twitter because of this.
Oh, wow.
And he said...
This is from AC Bradley?
It is.
Okay.
He said that we know you're concerned about it, but don't worry. Ultron has been breaking holes through reality, so technically now they're all tied.
Oh.
And on top of that, he's using the stones to power himself, which I kind of disagree with because he does do some stuff, but... because he's from that primary universe, they should work on him.
That lends credence to what Hank, what you had said earlier about the shattered hole remaining open.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what they say is now
Yeah,
the
yeah,
universe is kind of like a big messy soup.
It's all interconnected now.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't before, but now it's like
literally bleeding into
like
each
a
other.
physical.
Holes in the,
Yeah. Okay.
Spider-Man movie.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be kind of weird to
Some
see.
crack.
Ultron was the setup for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
We get a big scene where we see Ultravision flying through and just punching the Watcher into
I
the next
guess
one and
wouldn't
leaving
that
a
be
hole
something?
behind.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes as much sense as anything. So
Well,
but-
I mean, again, artistic liberty.
yeah, suspend disbelief. It's a cartoon.
Yeah.
But Ultron finally realizes that it's
It's a
Doctor
different core
Strange.
universe too. We're not in 616.
No.
That's true. It's so true.
So,
Yeah.
so it can work different. But he finally realizes that it's Doctor Strange. With the protection spells.
It's you.
Yeah. It's like, why are you so hard to kill? And I in this moment, I wish it was James Spader.
Yeah.
Because like the guy who did it, he did good, but I think it would have had more impact if James Spader had returned.
Oh, for sure. Well, if we're to believe the producers, he was asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he starts just hammering down on them, and Widow and Captain Carter get knocked back, and Widow spots her bike, and laying next to it is the arrow with the Arnhem virus on it.
So is this the same Arnhem virus? Like, so now
from the last episode.
So, but was that arrow not already used to put Zola in a drone? So now we're talking about
a second Arnhem,
right? So
because if you look back at that episode, it shows the download going in, but as he pulls the arrow back out, it's fully green again.
Oh,
so it downloaded a copy.
It's a USB, so that
it's
so
just
it should
a copy.
now.
It's a copy. Like,
when you stick a USB in a computer, the files don't
because they
to the computer and not remain on the USB, right?
And they recovered the arrow. So
they made a point.
Ostensibly, it's the same arrow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Way more sense now. Thank you for sorting me out.
And in an echo of a line at the beginning of the episode, Carter again says, "I've got the shield, you got the sword."
Yes.
And
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. But Natasha says she's like more like an arrow with the mother of all viruses in the tip. But cute wordplay.
Mm-hmm.
So even across universes, they're still sharing that connection.
Yeah.
So she says, I need a little time and a clear shot. Can we do it? And they set off to do that. Natasha on the bike and Captain Carter just running on foot. And she manages to get the bike up high enough and she lets loose the arrow. And Captain Carter makes the jump and manages to rip the helmet back far enough.
I really love that scene.
Yeah, like she's giving her all she's got there to pull the armor off of.
If this was the MCU proper, this is Steve Rogers like holding against Thanos' punch.
Yes.
That same level of like exertion,
Yeah. But them inside of Ultron, the shot lands and we get this bit of a Matrix moment similar to when Jarvis was facing off.
Yes.
Except Arnim Zola, he's like way more evil. And so Arnim Zola, and he just squares off and he's like, my purpose was to take over the world, but you've destroyed that.
Yeah.
So now my purpose is to destroy you. And very quickly, like it's a really neat graphic because he uses the tentacles coming out of him, kind of like the Hydra.
Right. Yeah,
and
very
he
much
takes
so.
over Ultron, and
that wasn't lost on me. The whole Hydra thing.
Yeah. And we see Ultron's body go splat into the ground, and at this point, another twist. Killmonger steps up.
Did we talk? We should probably talk about it too. That there was some foreshadowing for this with the way that he was playing with the drone.
Yeah, because he was messing around with the Ultron head.
How to
Thor
access?
had brought.
Yeah.
And Gamora was quick to point out, do you trust him? And Thor's like, oh, I trust everybody. But Killmonger steps up and steals 5 of the stones and the armor, and they square off again. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And Killmonger, he, true to conversation form, he makes a good speech. He's like, look, this could bring back everything. We could fix it.
We could fix all our universes.
You got to see this is right. The Watcher owes us. Yeah. Like I don't think he could have snapped because he didn't have the 6th gem.
Right.
But he could have done something.
Yeah, for sure.
And T'Challa's like, just give us the stones.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're not my cousin. And he's ready to fight.
Yeah.
But then behind him, we get Arnim Ultron rise up.
Yep.
with a, reminiscent little belly projection.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, no, that's my armor.
Which I thought was cool because it was the nanotech.
Yeah.
That he was
And-
just like, nope, that's mine.
Yeah. And exerting full control over it. They get into the equivalent of a force battle.
Yeah.
And they're just pulling back and forth the stones and the armor. And I don't quite get how Killmonger has the pull that he does, because he doesn't have the stones and all he's got is leftover Ultron armor.
He doesn't have any of them.
No,
because they're kind of in between.
and Zola, he
They're in
still
the
has the
balance.
Mind Stone.
Interesting.
Right.
That's
But
interesting.
Doctor Strange takes the moment to notice, this is it. We weren't
Yeah.
supposed to win.
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
just
yeah.
supposed to get them away.
Pretty insightful.
Yeah. And he sets about creating a little geodesic dome around them, similar to the one he was trapped in.
Yeah.
And the Watcher jumps in, gives him a little boost, and then we get this really great, sunrise moment where everything, it's the calm after the battle.
Yeah.
It looks like they've won. And the Watcher, he says, somebody's got to watch this thing. And Doctor Strange, he's like, I'll do it. What are friends for?
Right. And then he ends it off with that line, I've got nothing but time.
Yeah.
So how interesting is it now that we've got a pocket dimension within a pocket dimension?
Yes.
Is
Pocket
that like,
dimension with Infinity Stones?
I was
within
going to say
Infinity
that's like to me that's ultimately bad because it reminds me of like throwing a portable hole into a bag of holding.
Stones. Maybe.
For all the D&D nerds there.
Right.
Extra dimensional spaces within extra dimensional spaces are never a good thing.
But back at the pub, the Watcher tells them, thank you. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, you won't remember this because as soon as you walk through that door,
Everything goes back to
you won't remember a thing.
Yeah.
And nobody will know what you've done. But Captain Carter, she's second last to go, and she's staring down a picture of Steve that is adorning the bar. And he's like, I get that you don't want to go back to your time. You'd like to go to a previous time.
She even says, don't I deserve my happy ending?
Where's my happy ending?
Yeah.
And he says, trust me, this world needs you.
Yeah. Needs Captain Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she goes through and, accepts that. But Romanoff, she doesn't. She's like, I'm not going back. There's nothing there for me.
Yeah.
I'm staying here.
Well, when you figure that, they're one of the last, she was one of the last surviving human beings on the world. Planet.
Yeah.
What do you go back to? What is there?
Yeah. But the Watcher
Didn't
says,
he destroy the galaxy after that? Like, didn't he
Did.
destroy the galaxy after that?
Yeah.
Which is
But the Watcher says,
he's just floating in space now.
Without a
says
helmet.
The door was more metaphorical anyway.
Yeah.
And warps it. And instantly they're on the deck of a SHIELD helicarrier.
Yeah.
And there's a battle going on, Asgardians versus Avengers. And
Notice that it's the version of Steve Rogers, a la 2012.
yes.
It's the original cap suit. Or
Yeah.
rather, it's the first modern cap suit.
Yeah. And Nick Fury's about to get blown away. But
Yeah.
Natasha jumps in for the save and delivers the kick to him. And Nick Fury, he's like, you're not my widow, but I think you got the same spirit.
Yeah.
So, she gets a little bit of a new start. And then,
And she's already got experience
Do we
with
think
Infinity
that
Stones.
this is, do we think this is the MCU that she died in, and that? Well, I guess Cap wouldn't be there.
What did the
Does it
entry?
make anybody want to know how she died? I guess is what I'm.
it does. Yeah. Because
The original
Watcher
widow.
says,
Yeah.
this is one that lost their widow. So you'll fit in here.
And it almost seems
that's
like a timely reintroduction of the character now
Just
that
flip back over to
the
the
actress
wiki.
has solved her problems with the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, go back to the wiki entry for a second because
Oh.
it actually they surmise that they return her. She refuses to return to her ruined universe, so the Watcher brings her to the universe in which the Avengers candidates were assassinated.
Okay.
The one where Hank Pym.
This is
That's
the one
right.
I was
Murdered
talking about.
everybody.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
Where, right, and this is the one where at the all that's left is Captain Marvel, Cap,
And
now a
Captain
Black
America.
Widow.
Yeah, so that's why we see Steve
Right, because
and
Nick
Carol
finds
Yeah,
Shield
have the
fight
big
there.
hero
at that
shots. Yeah.
episode.
And why Loki says you're Avengers
Where's the fight?
replacements.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
because Loki does say,
That's the
you know,
Loki
your
thing,
Avenger
that's
replacements aren't
President
good
Loki
enough.
or whatever.
That's right. Yes, that's
Yeah.
Loki invading. Yeah.
President Loki.
Okay, so that's where that one fits.
Okay.
Now we know where we are.
But
Perfect.
you know, we cut to black and we think it's over, but it's not over because we get another scene when Captain Carter has been taken back.
After she gets booted in the face by Batroc, who laughs
Yeah.
at her. Haha,
Yeah.
too fast for you.
And Widow takes her down a corridor and says, there's something you got to see. And lo and behold, there's a crate with the Hydra Stomper in it. And then Black Widow proceeds to tell her there's still a body inside.
Still something inside, yeah.
And we can kind of glean from like all the stuff that, you know, there's a bit of life support and whatnot.
We can
going on
infer
here.
that he's
Yeah.
alive. So I mean,
Or
Steve
Lost in
Rogers
Time,
just
or, yeah.
Steve Rogers just became the Bucky of this universe.
Yes, yes, he did.
So the question is, I mean, it doesn't really show us in that image, but I mean, just like Bucky, when Bucky fell, he reemerged as the Winter Soldier. So is Steve Rogers the Winter Soldier of this
Right.
universe as the Hydra Stomper working for the Soviets?
I don't know. Like,
Or
what did they
working
do to
for-
him
Yeah,
while
that
he
would
was
be-
in their
that's a
possession?
great
Yeah.
real twist.
Because like,
Yeah.
because we already saw they took him
That's a good
and they
twist.
had him pinned up.
My absolute,
Yeah.
What did they do to him?
I don't know.
my absolute favorite thing of every episode was what if Steve Rogers was Iron Man. That's my favorite thing that happened in
Oh
all
my
9
God.
episodes.
Yeah. I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah. But
I just can't help thinking, like, using the parallel, like those, if we can call them absolutes, some things are just absolute, that certain things are going to happen. And I just feel like, you know, the universe, the harder you push against the universe, it pushes back to course correct.
yeah.
And so if you have to have a Winter
Course
Soldier,
correction.
there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it leaves Captain Carter definitely on a hopeful note, so she might be getting her happy ending.
Absolutely.
But I think we're going to follow that forward into season 2.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how that goes, how we handle that, because what are they setting up? Clearly they're setting up more phase 4 film stuff.
Yeah.
But what about future TV properties? So we're going to get a second season of What If. Could some of these characters /
I hope
episodes,
it's a second season of What If and not a season of Guardians of the Multiverse.
well, this is it. And I agree with you on that. I would love to see the version of the Avengers that's led by Sharon Carter. What does that look like? You know?
Yeah.
It's my personal opinion that the one shots, I know that they tied them together and it works thematically, but I felt that the one-offs were much stronger because of the stakes, which there were none. Now there's stakes and they're not that high.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be following any Guardians of the Multiverse because they've been sent back and they've been forced to forget.
Oh, true enough. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
the exception of Captain Carter, who I think
Voltron
does
style.
remember, and probably Natasha Romanoff as well.
Yeah.
Like Voltron style. They're not
Yeah.
assembled at the end of every season to solve the problem.
No, I hear you on that.
I don't think
Just
they'll
let
do
them
that.
stand on their own for what they are and tell different stories about them.
Yeah.
You know, not everything has to be a universe threatening, world ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is it. And they keep
Well, guys,
trying to
that
one
is,
up themselves. And how do you eventually, like, how do you one up yourself? Like what they're doing right now in this crazy multiverse inside the comics right now is like they're trying to trump Secret Wars. They're trying to trump. Now they have this thing where there's zero technology, and Spider-Man's web shooters don't work. Iron Man is a steampunk guy, so, and the whole world is in darkness. There's no light except for fire, and so they just keep trying to make things worse and worse and worse and more tragic and more. And like I said before, I love to watch Daredevil duke it out with a guy in an alley, man. I love that. Comics.
Yeah.
Well, that has been our look at What If, all 9 episodes. Lots of stuff to talk about, and I'm sure there's more to talk about going forward. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on the show, and you know, maybe you guys have some different thoughts than we do. Tell us about, you know, why we're wrong and what are we missing. And as always, please do like and subscribe to all of our socials. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and of course check us out on YouTube as well. And I guess going forward,
We got some stuff still coming in the works. Yeah.
we do. you know, it seems like as soon as we run out of ideas, something new comes out.
Yes.
It's true.
But there's still all of the old, more I shouldn't say old, the previous pop culture stuff that we've been talking
There's a
about that we've
world
been
of it
wanting
out
to
there to
do.
explore.
So there's lots more on the horizon for us. There's some stuff in the works that I can't really talk about yet because it's so preliminary that it would be anticlimactic for me to
Don't want to
talk
jinx
about
it.
that. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, lots more in the pipe. And once again, thanks for choosing us. Your entertainment options are wide and varied, and we certainly appreciate you coming along with us. So, for Fandom Power, guys, I'm Wes.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Hank from 5 seconds ago.
See you next time when we get our technology issues sorted out.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Bye for now.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Fandom Power. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be talking about another one of your favorite fandoms. Fandom Power is a Sawcast production.
Seconds ago. Just that was perfect. You couldn't have done that any better. Your lips moved and I'm Hank from 5 seconds ago.
That's wicked.
Technical difficulties.
My Lord.